alongside picking a new president, the results to this year's ballot questions in Maine could make a really big impact.
Yeah, News Center Maine's Caroline Lecour joins us with a little rundown of the other things we saw on the ballot aside from the candidates. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. Good evening. Now, the polls have been closed for about a half an hour now. We are still waiting for some of those results. To give a recap on what we're expecting this year, question 1 is asking voters to set a limit for the amount of money independent political action committees or PACs can be gifted. Now, a vote of yes means that limit would be set at no more than $5,000. Since 1976, the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed contributions to be regulated when there is a risk of quid pro quo. Now, if passed, some argue this Maine law would gain attention by the U.S. Supreme Court as it conflicts with federal precedent. Now, question 2 might sound familiar to some voters. It asks for approval of a $25 million bond, which would give grant funding to research groups and businesses working in the life sciences and biomedical research fields. The last research and development bond was approved by voters in 2017 and generated a $1.4 billion economic impact for Maine, according to the governor's office. Now, the second bond question on the ballot is question 3. It asks voters to approve of a $10 million bond that, if passed, would work to restore historical buildings owned by governments or nonprofits here in Maine. It would also require a local match of 25% if passed. Now, there are currently 1,600 properties and districts in Maine listed on the National Register of Historical Places. Question 4 is asking voters to approve of another bond to invest $30 million towards the design, development, and maintenance of public hiking trails in Maine. And lastly, we've talked about this a lot, a highly discussed question on this year's ballot has to come down to question 5, which is asking voters to potentially change the state flag. Now, right now, the state flag features the state seal, which was adopted in 1909. Now, more than a century later, that could change. A vote yes means Maine would adopt a new flag. Its design paying homage to the 1901 state flag, which features a pine tree. According to the Maine Secretary of State's office, the cost of replacing all the current state flags can be absorbed by existing budgets. Now, that's assuming the changeover happens gradually. Brian and Amanda, with half an hour down after the polls have closed, I'll be keeping an eye on the results of this year's referendum questions as we continue our coverage. Live in studio, Caroline Lecour. Guys, I'll toss it back to you.
Caroline, our thanks to you.